black people would act the same way as Chinese people do, they would be so much more powerful, so much more rich. There are so many black people in the world. There are so many, especially African Americans, bro. The thing is, they are not bonding, they're fighting each other. If they will be as united as Chinese people, bro, they will be powerful as fuck, but they're divided. But they could be powerful, but they don't have this unity, they don't have this gene which makes them connected. Or maybe it's the elite which keeps them divided.
If I'm honest, he's correct. What would happen if black people could unite as one? I agree as well that if we were to unify, we could be unstoppable. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem possible, considering certain behavioral patterns that appear to be endemic and systemic in Africa. I'm talking about tribalism and a sickening love for the people that colonized them. Frank Zanu was right about one thing. Black people globally will never unite because Africans can't get along with other Africans. It's really sad and unfortunate. Black Americans don't get down like that. We are simply Black American and of one ethnic group. If there was one good thing that came out of slavery, it's that tribalism and white people worship was left in Africa when the enslaved people came to America.
If you talked about it earlier, how come other races in America aren't seeing the same plight we have? Because you look at some of those races, from the Jewish community to the Asian community to the Hispanic community, a lot of them get together, pool money to help others in their same community start to ascend to a higher level of being.
What you have described, the crabs in a bucket, come to the continent of Africa. It's worse than you see it here. Montel, I'm telling you something. I have huge credibility to be able to look at the life of blacks in the Caribbean, lives of blacks in communities in Europe, in America, and the continent, and tell you there is nothing happening you have described that is not happening on the continent. It's worse. We do not pool together. We don't support each other's business. It's a problem we discuss on the continent. And so what I have done in the last 13 years during my 9-country tour, and then I came back from 3 a month ago, is to begin to let college students not make the conclusions of why, but ask, why is that so peculiar to only one single race on earth?
I think the most important question to ask is, why does anti-black sentiment exist globally? That question deserves just as much attention than the one Frank raises, but he's not interested in that question. The only thing that interests Frank is how can you tear down black people and prop up white supremacy? There's a history in the United States that can explain why black Americans are in the condition that we find ourselves in today. Frank seems to believe that our lack of advancement as a people is self-inflicted. According to him, white people play little to no role in the plight of black people in America. Now, this isn't about the oppression Olympics, but you cannot talk about the condition of black people without looking at the things that were done to black people in America and the world. Yes, even though we have a responsibility to try to persevere in spite of the trauma and obstacles that we face, it is unfair to analyze those conditions of black people through a lens of self-accountability only. This is how Frank sees the world. Now, with respect to the crab in the bucket mentality, let's talk about it. Now, I want to debunk this consistent stereotype about black people not pulling together to get things done. We in the black community have heard this term pretty much all of our lives, so much so that we think that we're the only people guilty of this behavior. Other groups are victims of this behavior as well. Tulsa, Oklahoma is one of many examples of black people pulling together to get something done. Now, I'm sure there will be people out there who will say, well, what have you done lately? That was in the past. Now, there are several examples that I can talk about, but let's talk about this one. Recently, a venture capital group called the Fearless Fund, which is an organization that funds to help black women start businesses. This group was sued by Edward Bloom for discrimination against white people. Now, you might ask, who is Edward Bloom? Well, he's the guy that is responsible for getting affirmative action struck down by the Supreme Court. He alleged that black students were taking spots of more qualified white and Asian students. Needless to say, he won that lawsuit. Now, if that wasn't enough, he sued the Fearless Fund and won that case as well. The Fearless Fund was forced to end that program. Now, this is just the latest example of white people preventing black people from creating generational wealth. The truth of the matter is, black wealth makes white people very uncomfortable. White people are more at ease if black people are poor and strung out. Contrary to what people like Frank believes, many white people do whatever it takes to make it difficult for black people to succeed in this country. When they say pull yourself by your own bootstraps, they really don't mean it. Now, the crab mentality is not something that is exclusive to black people, as I said, but we somehow eternalize it as part of our black culture. Now, here are a few examples as to why that isn't true.
Yunaryo na kasi kaya hindi na kami kilala. Or, dumalaw nga, wala naman nang inabot. Yep, that's crab mentality, and it needs to stop. I know families where someone worked their butt off, started with nothing, built a business, got promoted, went abroad. They sacrificed sleep, comfort, and time with loved ones to build something better. And instead of celebrating their success, people whispered behind their back. Why? Because it made them uncomfortable. Everyone started from the same spot. These folks didn't cheat. They just worked harder. So why the hate? Why the gossip? Success is not something to be bitter about. Something to be inspired by. So instead of pulling people down, how about asking them how they did it? Learn how they leveled up. Break the cycle. The only thing crab mentality gets us is stuck in a bucket. Happy Sunday.
Now, we all heard the story about Mexican crabs in a bucket. A professional fisherman had several buckets of live crabs sitting side by side on a pier. All the buckets had a cover on them to prevent the crabs from crawling out, except for one. When a bystander asked the fisherman why the one bucket didn't have a cover, the fisherman said, "Those are Mexican crabs. When one tries to climb out, the other crabs will pull him down." Now, like all comedy, the reason that joke is funny is because it's sort of true. I personally think the primary reason this is true is because most Latinos have what I call a scarcity mentality. They view your success as being at their expense. They intuitively believe that there's a small pie, and if you get a big piece, somehow there's less available for them.
Now, I want you to listen to this African woman talk about the mindset of the African. And this is why we can never unite. Even though she claims she gets it, but there is still a separation in thought.
As an African living in the United States, I used to share the same sentiment that Africans share about African Americans because I had a hard time when I first moved here. People used to always tell me, "You're not black enough, you're an Oreo, you're secretly white on the inside," as if I wasn't literally from Africa. But I now understand after living here for 8 years that black in the United States is a very specific criteria and anything outside of that just doesn't fit. But I want to help African Americans understand that Africans coming to the United States are immigrants, first and foremost. Then they are Nigerian or Senegalese or whatever country they're from. And then at some point, they are black. But Africans don't put black high up on their identity well as much as African Americans do. And that is for legitimate reasons on both ends. And so when an African is coming to the United States, they're thinking to themselves, okay, I'm an immigrant here. I have to do my best for myself and my family back home. The sacrifices that took for me to get here were no light work. Okay, so I need to really align myself with what's going to make me successful in this country. And because it's the United States, it's the dominant culture, which is white American culture. And so Africans are going to instinctively ally themselves with the culture that's going to give them the most success. I mean, African Americans even admit that they have to code switch to be successful here because that's what brings success. And so Africans are like, all right, we'll do that. And it also doesn't help that for a long time, Africans are fed a very negative view of Black American culture, and that's its own propaganda. But because Africans are so conservative and they're coming to a country where Black Americans have been labeled as the antithesis to this conservative traditional family values, they have, if anything, more in common with Southern Baptist white racist people. But that aside, going back to identity markers, Black Americans put Black first and foremost, and then everything else goes below it. And so they're thinking when another black people come to our country, they're going to want to integrate with us, the other black people, because black comes first. And they get quickly disappointed in realizing that for Africans, black and the identity and that coming is not first. Their immigrant identity comes first, and then their country. And if anything, for us as Africans to feel like that's my brother, that's my brethren, or whatever, you have to come from the same tribe as us, because we have so many black people around, we don't automatically pre-select for black. But black Americans don't have so many black people around, have had to defend and protect their culture amidst a dominant white culture, and so they are already pre-select and are overprotective for black.
Now remember, family, as I mentioned earlier, there are two areas that I believe Africans are mentally challenged when it comes to the idea of unification. Now, before I get into the second reason, listen how Frank Zander tries so hard to connect the state of mind of Africans to the state of mind of black Americans. We are not the same, Frank. And by the way, Montel Williams does a horrible job defending black American culture. He wasn't equipped to handle this conversation. Now, if you're interested in getting a full context about this conversation, I will leave a link to the entire video in the description. Now, in this clip, he makes the most outrageous claim about the conditions of black Americans or black people globally. In so many words, he said black people are genetically incapable of improving their lives and unifying as a people. Now, if you listen to the Asian man that spoke earlier in the video, he too alluded to the same thing.
Tell me, Montel, why 54 countries is on one planet, 13 black countries in one area, the Caribbean, put together 68. Name one single black country on Mother Earth that is fully industrialized.
It's so crazy. Now, if you look, I can't tell you, but you go back and look. I know one of the plans that Muammar Gaddafi had was trying to come up with a single African currency.
After he has failed his country, he was trying to win support from outside. No man should be given AK-47 for 42 years. He could have changed that place into Denmark. No, Gaddafi was the craziest man God ever put as a leader of any country. One, he was not well educated. He came from down Benghazi to come down, to go through the ranks to become, and then overthrew King Aziz from emotion. And he held his country down for 42 years. No competition. And look at Libya. He created one of the largest lazy people on earth. When he failed, he began to want Africans to make him president of Africa when you couldn't even keep 2.7 million people developed. Think about it.
So where is the legitimate, I'm not saying, I'm using it sort of loosely, but where's the legitimate Gaddafi? Where's the person that can unite Africa and say, it is now time for us to stop being this third world?
This Pan-African movement is nonsensical emotion. Here, Nigeria has 211 distinct tribes. My country is only 6.5 million people, Benin Republic, and we have 51 tribes. If I travel 3 miles north, I can't speak. I need an interpreter. We couldn't even unite Benin, and now you want to unite Africa. That is the most bogus, stupid decision I've ever heard coming from anybody. Nigeria is they are fighting every day, killing each other. You know, Kenya has only 47 tribes, 47 counties, about 42 tribes. They can't unite. The Luos, the Kikuyus, the Kalenjin, the Maasai, they can't. Somalia, Sudan, you go down, everyone has a problem. The Rwandans, 2 major tribes in Rwanda, and they kill each other. So if the countries can't even unite with the pluralistic tribes they have, now they're going to be one Africa? Impossible.
Got it. So what do we do? So what do you do in the next 100 years to get Africa to start to see that that division has to end before they will ever come from where they are now?
Yes.
To at least be a part of a modern.
Yeah, it's like, what would you say to the fish in 100 of years? The fish can't climb.
Right.
No, the division we have to question, and I have my own theories about it. Yes, it is quite sad if you hear it. If you don't attend to it with emotion, and you are able to suppress the emotion and listen to it, because look, I am blacker than anyone can I have taken pride in my culture. When I lived in South Korea, when I lived in Japan, you know me, my room is all Africa. But I know it, that even in Benin, I am not a Beninois. Because if I go outside Benin and they ask me, how do you marry in Benin? What is my answer? I can only describe how it's done in my tribe. So that will be true. But if I describe it as Benin, that is a lie for the rest of the people. If they ask me, what do you eat in Benin? There is nothing like that. What is the culture of Benin? There is nothing like that. What is the language of Benin? There is nothing like that. So who is a Beninois then? We are just tribes, Montel, in a 6.5 million people. If they see my last name, they know what tribe I come from. You know Angelique Kidjo?
Okay.
Yes, she's from Benin. That's my mother's tribe. And then you know Jimo Honsu, Amistad. That's the only famous two people from Benin. Okay? If I say my last name at an airport in Benin, they know my tribe. I'm worse than an N-word person here in America. This is the truth. Just ask many people. Same with Nigerians. There are tribes in Nigeria, major tribes. If they come to the airport and show their passport, their last name can tell where they come from. If you go to Rwanda some 30 years ago, just being a Tutsi, you are a cockroach. A Hutu immigration will do whatever they can do. So where did it go wrong? Now, you take a small portion of all those into one ship and bring them to America, and you are expecting that they will unite? No, it's a DNA. You ask me, what should we do? The first thing is to at least, like the AA would say, acknowledgement of what went wrong. But when you make a conclusion with colonization, you're done. You're not going to solve your problem. If you make a conclusion with racism, you're not going to solve your problem. So conclusions have become our most terrible enemies.
The thing that I found most surprising about Montel Williams is that he didn't push back on a genetic comment Frank made. By the end of that conversation, Montel pretty much surrendered. It was embarrassing to watch. One of the main differences between Africans, Caribbeans, and Black Americans is that we, as Black Americans, don't worship white tea. That type of behavior is pervasive all over Africa and many parts of the Caribbean. When they come to America, their allegiance is not with us, it's with the white tea.
You being a man from an African family, what would your family say about you bringing like an American woman?
My daughter's mom is American. Most African parents, if we're being honest, they would actually prefer you bring home a white person. It's messed up because like we talk about Uncle Tom's and racism and what it did to African Americans, but colonialism did a number on Africans. So a lot of Africans, they default to thinking white people are
superior.
So it goes from white people to Asian, Hispanic, and then Black. America's number one export is entertainment. A lot of Africans know our culture as far as our food and our clothes and things like that, but we don't necessarily know the context. So we don't consider y'all's context. So we don't think about Jim Crow, or we don't think about, post-traumatic slavery. We don't think about that stuff. So we just look at it kind of like how Asian people look at it. Why are those niggas acting the way that they do? Even though we have a kind of similar story, we don't make that same connection that, oh, this happened to them, then this happened to them, and this happened to them, and it's still happening. So that's why we have that same kind of mindset.
Help us. Without your hand, we are nothing. Without the white people, without the white men, there is no life. Africa, to be Africa, it must be Europe. Go see how South Africa looks like today. The white people built it, South Africa. Beautiful South Africa, just because of you white people. You are a great kingdom. You are blessed by God to be who you are today. God bless you. You are a fighting hand. Thank you, I love you. I want to be somewhere. You go connect me with the black world.
It's clear to me that until the mindset of the African changes, there is no way we can unite. There's no tribalism amongst Black Americans. This is why we're the most innovative group of Black people on the planet. If we were as tribalistic as many African nations are, we would not have created or amassed 50,000 inventions and creations. The reason why white tea chooses Africans over black Americans is because they consider you Africans the agreeable and docile kind of Negro. You see, we black Americans are the rebellious type. We're too much trouble for them. I'm just saying, that's just the way it is. So, if you haven't already, subscribe, thumb up the video, share this information, it's so important. Until the next time, peace.
Did you know that Thomas Edison was known for stealing people's inventions? Thomas Edison, famed for his inventions, had a notorious reputation for claiming others' work, particularly that of African American inventors. A self-taught draftsman, Lewis Latimer significantly improved the electric light bulb with his carbon filament invention, yet often went uncredited. Granville T. Woods, known as the Black Edison, invented the multiplex telegraph, enhancing railroad communications. Edison attempted to steal this invention by taking Woods to court, but Woods triumphed, marking a significant victory for black inventors. These stories highlight the resilience and ingenuity of African American inventors whose contributions are crucial to technological advancement despite historical challenges.